quick live training on visualization in competitive swimming, and I'm mostly speaking to swim parents here, not so much the swimmers, because you see with visualization, I think at this point, you've probably seen the shorts or long form videos on Instagram and YouTube about Michael Phelps, because he's always saying that the biggest difference between him and everybody else was what is happening in his mind. And visualization was, if you study him, you know that he has been visualizing from a very young age. And he says that was the biggest, most impactful tool that he's used and has allowed him to become the swimmer that he was. And so at this point, right, and you can just like go across all sports, you will find the same thing. They all talk about visualization and how important it is. And so what I've been kind of pondering, the question is, okay, if we know, because I visualize every day, and I have for years, but if we know that it's so powerful, and we know with 100% certainty, again, we don't have to guess on that, we know with 100% certainty that the best athletes in the world, they are all visualizing. There's different ways to visualize, but they all do it. And so the question is, why does your swimmer not do it consistently? And I'll tell you what, the thing that I see, which is not serving them, is that the kids don't visualize, and then in the call room, for example, right, or just before their big race, they visualize their race. That's when they visualize. But it's the wrong time to visualize, because visualization is something where you, in a way, you reprogram your subconscious mind. And reprogramming the subconscious mind only works with repetition. So what we need to do, we need to put in the reps way ahead, way before the important competition, so that the reps are done and we don't have to kind of have this knee-jerk reaction. It's like, oh my God, I feel underprepared and now I need to visualize my race, because they're just getting in their head, and then we're getting in their head, they're going to get nervous and all that, so it's not going to serve them. So I've been thinking, why, if we know it's such a powerful tool, why do swimmers not do it consistently? And I'll give you the three biggest reasons why we visualize in the first place. And we're going to do it from the most obvious but least powerful, like it's the one that most people know, oh yeah, this is why we visualize. And then there's a middle part. The second thing is going to be something that is a bit less obvious, but you've probably heard of it. And then the last one is what I believe most people actually don't know, and it's by far the most powerful reason why we visualize. And when we do that, we get an immediate effect. And that is because, you see, when I'm with our swimmers, when we make them do visualization, it's basically asking them to do something, to be quiet for 3 or 4 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever, right? And do that every day without, in their mind, getting any kind of benefit from that immediately, because the reward for that will come later. And that is the opposite of, let's say, social media scrolling, where they lay down and they get the reward right now. Does that make sense? So like that delayed gratification is why the swimmers, even though they know visualizing is the most important thing for a competitive swimmer, and they don't do it, it's because there's delayed gratification. And so what if we could have instant gratification when we visualize? Then it would become an absolute no-brainer, and the swimmers, they're all magically just going to do it because they get this huge reward from visualization right away. Okay, so that's the plan. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Karasek. I'm a former Olympic swimmer, multiple national record holder, and I've coached hundreds of competitive swimmers from age groupers all the way to an Olympic champion in overcoming their race anxiety and do better in training and, of course, in competition. So let me share my screen here and get right into that. So the first reason why we visualize is, oh, give me a second. That didn't go well. All right, we're back. Okay, the first thing is it's a repetition of skills. What do I mean by that? Repetition of certain skills. And again, there's a ton of research that's backing this up, like clinically done research to isolate this repetition of skills. So what I mean is, for example, if your kid visualizes doing the perfect freestyle turn, let's say in a 100-meter freestyle, right? And then the underwater and then the breakout, how clean it is. They can visualize that over and over and over and over and over again, and that will make them better at that skill. So they're in their minds, or the start is a really good example too, right? They can just visualize 10, 20, 30 perfect starts, how they come in and boom, just the right angle, and they accelerate into it, right? A clean breakout, how they feel good and everything. And so what the research is saying, I had, for example, I don't even have to tell you the research. You can chat GPT it if you want, or Google it. But I had a very interesting example during COVID. I was coaching at the time. I was not just coaching swimmers, but I had a pool player, billiard, right? And it's very interesting. I had no idea. They have cameras on top of the table everywhere, and they have an app, and those cameras, they track everything, right? How accurate they are and so on. And so he had a lot of data. And then COVID came, and he wasn't allowed to be in his normal training location for 2 months. And he didn't have a table at home, right? They're quite expensive. And so what he did, because he couldn't go and train, yeah, he would run and like stay fit and stuff. But what he would do, he would visualize the perfect shots over and over and over again in his head. And after 2 months, when he came back, and remember, he hasn't touched a ball or like a stick for like 2 months. And when he came back, he played. And what the stats showed, he actually got better, even though he didn't physically train at all, it's quite amazing, right? And so that is the first reason we can just repeat certain elements in the competition over and over and over again, and they will become better because we visualize them how they're done perfectly. Does that make sense? So that's the first one. That's the most obvious. And it is the least powerful way why we use visualization. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is I'm trying to figure out how I should describe that in these. It's basically to go from uncertainty to certainty. What I mean by that, certainty. When you look at interviews that athletes give across all sports, right? That could be in fighting, it could be in football, it could be in swimming, it could be in tennis, it doesn't really matter. Oftentimes they'll have a very good race or a very good performance, and the reporter goes, "Hey, were you surprised that you ran that fast or that you swam that fast?" And what does the guy or the girl say very often? It's like, "No, because I've seen that a million times in my head," right? And so what that means is that, you see, where the mind is freaking out is when we go to the call room, and then we're in the call room and we are uncertain how the race is going to go, right? Because maybe there's a person that goes out really fast right next to us in the lane. We get psyched out. We looked at the heat sheet and we're like, "Oh my God, I've never been in such a fast heat. Maybe it's the first time at the European Championships," whatever, right? It's just uncertain how it's going to go. How fast should I go out? What about this and that? Like, I didn't feel good during the warm-up. And so it's uncertain. And the mind hates nothing more than uncertainty. Because remember, what the brain was designed to do thousands and thousands of years ago was to make sure that you're safe. And when you're not certain what is about to happen next, then you are not safe in a way. Because if you know exactly what's coming next, then you're safe. Okay, so that's where this is coming from. And the brain cannot differentiate between a physical threat to your life and an emotional threat where you could get embarrassed, you could be disappointed, you could disappoint others, right? The brain will have the same kind of reaction to it. And then the trouble is the muscles go stiff, the mind isn't in the present moment, and then we jump in and it's not, it just feels... things feel a bit short, the easy speed on the first half isn't there, the legs start getting tired too early and all that. It's all because there's uncertainty, things don't go according to plan, the mind freaks out, and then we're like in danger mode, right? And when you think about it, when we're in training, we are used to being nice and calm and relaxed. And that's how the body knows how to swim fast, when we're relaxed and loose. And then all of a sudden we get to competition, there's all these uncertainty and there's the pressure of everything. How's it going to go? You know, what are others going to think? Am I going to disappoint myself? Is it going to happen again? All that stuff. And the muscles go tight. And then, you know, and if you're a parent, right, you see it from the stands usually. You know your kid and you can see it in body posture. You just have this feeling it's not going to go well, okay? So what we can do here with number 2 is that when we see how the race ideally is going to go, okay, we can see that over and over and over and over in our mind. We go through the entire motion of going to the call room, moving through the different rows, changing chairs, standing up and warming up, and then walking out on pool deck, taking off the clothes, tying the race suit, goggles down, right? Maybe splash some water. And then we jump in and we visualize the ideal race. And when you do that ahead of the competition, not on the day of the competition, that's way, way, way too late. That most of the time, that will create the opposite effect because you're actually not in the present moment because you're in the future. And at the competition, your goal is always to just be in the present moment. All right. And so we want to do that ahead of time so that when we get to the call room and we go through the motion of that, and it is the 200 fly that's coming up, we know what's coming next. And the mind will be calm and stay in the present moment, and the muscles will be nice and relaxed because we are certain what is coming next. So I hope that makes sense. Those are the first 2, and those are the pretty obvious ones. And also those 2, I'll just, you know, let me see. So in red, this is, I'm just going to do this, delayed gratification. Right? So those will have a delayed gratification because you got to put in the time to visualize now. And if you just know these 2 things, you will not see an effect until then, which is in the future. And that is you have to be very disciplined. You have to have a lot of reasons to follow through. And all. These are all things that we can help the swimmer like create. But there's something better, which makes it a ton easier than me having to go, okay, what is your goal? Like, what happens if you don't reach it? Okay, and then we got to stack the reasons and we got to come up with a game plan on like, okay, you do it every day before you brush your teeth in the evening. Right? There's these things that we can use that will, like, if you study how to build a new habit and stuff, we can use these things. But it's still going to be kind of a grind, right? It's going to be, I have to do this thing. It's another thing on the to-do list. Like, a good example for me is meditation, right? I feel like I always have, I'm just going to be honest with you, that my day doesn't have enough hours. And so I always, I'm not saying like I'm super stressed, but there's always like more to do. And so for me to sit down and like not have any thoughts and meditate for 30 minutes, I'm feeling like I'm sitting on hot coals because I could be doing this and I could be doing that and this and that, or I could play with my daughter and all that. And it's always because I haven't found what the immediate benefit is of me actually doing a meditation. And so as soon as I found that I found immediate pleasure and immediate betterment, improvement to what I was doing, and it was multiplying everything else that I was doing, and I got more output and everything started to get better naturally. That was like when I went, oh my God, we need to bring that to the swimmers, because then they will naturally, easily, without like friction and being very disciplined, do the thing that's actually going to get them the biggest level up. Does that make sense? And so that's the third thing. And I got that from the spiritual world, because you see, I mean, I did a lot of trainings with, I did a training with Tim Grover, who is, or was, the mental coach of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and lots of others, right? And it's like very athlete and this relentless and work ethic and all that, and that's great. But in the spiritual world, it has, like, everything is spiritual. I have a huge interest in spirituality because in the end of the day, everything is energy, and there are certain laws, and those laws, they don't really care if we believe in them or not. They don't care at all if we know them or not. They just are. And if we don't know them, we might just be like, confused about why things don't work out and stuff. And when we know the law and we're aligned with the law, they just work for, it doesn't matter what skin color you have, how old you are, what your gender is, where you're from, how poor or rich you are. It doesn't matter. It's just a law. Like gravity is a good one, right? I mean, like it doesn't matter if I believe in gravity or not. If I let this pen go, it'll go. Okay. And it's kind of the same thing with these spiritual laws. So they're like very interesting. And I did a lot of spiritual development and all that. And visualization is a big technique in the spirituality as well. And here's where it gets interesting, because we can take the best of these two worlds and combine it and then really know why we visualize in the first place. And here it is, okay? When we visualize, what do we visualize? If you're a beginner, you want to start with just visualizing your ideal race, right? And so after, say like a 200 free, you touch the wall, or your child touches the wall, and then they all have a goal in their mind. They want to accomplish something. That's why they go to training. They have a goal. They have a dream, right? And say the dream is like really far out, but let's say the goal that they have in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay, maybe this summer, end of summer 2026. Maybe they want to be in the national team. Maybe they want to go to Junior Europeans. Maybe, Youth Olympic Games, whatever, right? They have a time in their mind that they want to have. Maybe want to be under a minute in 100 free for the first time, whatever it is. But they have that. And for them, that time, that new PB or making a national team, that is something that they really want. Okay, so we want to visualize that actually happening. So we put ourselves into, ideally, if we know the pool, where it's going to be or when it's going to be. And we go through the motion of going to the call room, going through the rows, and then walking out, right? Picking a lane, and then swimming the ideal 200 free. And then we touch the wall, right? And we're breathing. And we check the time on the scoreboard. And then there's a time. It's the time that we want to accomplish, where we're working so hard for that. That would really make us happy. Okay, so that should be, it would get some kind of like emotional reaction. For me, I would splash the water, right? Other people would, maybe they wouldn't get up on a lane line because they didn't do like a world record, but they would have a big smile on their face. Or maybe they would like wave to like their parents and the coach, and they're going, yeah. Or they take off their cap and it's just, relief. They finally did it. Okay, and that should be a emotion of pure joy and excitement and passion when they see that moment in their mind, and it hasn't happened in the 3D world yet. And so that's exactly the point. The third one is it's supposed to create an emotion of feeling passionate or excited and joy. And what that does is, when we can engineer that emotion, that feeling, that state in our mind using visualization, and what we visualize is the thing that we think at this point in time excites us the most in swimming, right? Because if that doesn't do it, then either you don't have an exciting goal and you don't really want it, or you just suck really bad at visualization, which again, that's just something we can show you how to do, right? And again, the most important thing is just start doing it, because if you start doing it, the mind will start to get better at it. And at some, like after a few weeks, you really master the skill and you know exactly what you're doing, and it will be very vivid and all that. And so we can create that passionate state in us. Now, think about it this way. What happens when your kid goes to a competition and they're having the worst competition of their lives? Just everything about that competition sucked. From the first swim, they never bounced back. Everything, tears, the silent car ride home, maybe some fights. You try to coach and stuff, and it's just total drama. When they go to bed on Sunday night, when they wake up on Monday, how do they wake up? Usually, not in a very good mood. Okay? Now, the opposite, if they had the best competition of their life and 100% PBs, where they go, oh my God, how did I do that? They're super excited, big smile on, like the world is their oyster, right? And they go to bed on Sunday night. How do they wake up on Monday morning? They wake up excited, ready to tackle everything, right? And so when they're in that kind of state, they are going to train better. They are going to pay more attention in school. They're going to be better friends. They're going to be more focused. They're going to have more energy. They're going to make the right choices around food and sleep and screen time and all that, because they're in a passionate, excited, and joyful state. So they get an immediate benefit, right? Actually, they get an immediate benefit when they visualize before going to bed. What happens is that their subconscious mind, they put their subconscious mind in a state of passion, and they're gonna pass out consciously, but their subconscious mind is in a passionate state, and that energy is still there because the subconscious mind doesn't go to sleep. And so the subconscious mind is going to keep working on whatever problems they have and stuff in a passionate state, which connects them spiritually to their higher mind, which is their soul. And there's good information coming downloaded to them. I know it is a bit like weird if you've never heard of that, but that's how it works. Because from the spiritual realm, what happens is that we basically initially, what we have to do is follow our passion, right? And if we're competitive swimmers and we love swimming, then we're on a good track. And if we get really passionate about stuff, that is the soul giving us stuff. This is your path, and our brain in the physical world is decoding that as passion. Because we don't know where like life is taking us, but if we just follow our passion, we know this is the brain decoding good information from the soul, from the higher mind. This is the way to go, to follow your passion, follow your joy. So to be in an excited, passionate state is never wrong. It's always going to lead to something great. And so if you put yourself, or your kid puts themselves in a passionate, excited state, their subconscious immediately is in that state, keeps working on things at night, they will recover better in everything. And then the next morning, they wake up more excited, more passionate, more looking forward to the day, and they will tackle the next practice, and they will be better in practice. And that's when they get an immediate positive effect, right? So let me write that down. Immediate benefit. And that will make them, if you do something and you have an immediate positive effect, what's going to happen is that will become the only logical choice to do, because immediately they feel so much better and faster, which again is what they want. So I hope that makes sense. We got the first two. You go back here. So we got number one, okay? We have the repetition of certain elements of a swim that we can train with visualization. Works really, really well. It's the least powerful and the most obvious reason. Number two is we have the whole, not just specific elements of the swim, but the actual going from changing into your suit all the way to finishing the race. And that helps us, if we do that over and over again, to go from uncertainty to certainty, which will keep the mind calm, okay? Which is exactly where we want to be for a race. That's where we want to be. And we've seen it so many times that we know what's coming next. So it's certain and the mind will be calm. Yeah? And then the third reason, by far, in a way, the most important, is that it puts the kids in a state of passion, which is always good because it's going to give them more energy, more hunger, more drive, more motivation automatically. Okay. And most important of all, I believe, okay, and this is kind of the shift why I've been studying this so much and combining it with the spiritual learnings that or like aha moments that I had. When you're feeling that fantastic, you get an immediate benefit to your life. And when you get the immediate benefit, you will be 1,000,000 times more likely, if you do it right, it will be the only logical choice, because you get such an amazing boost that it would be weird not to do it, right? So it would be an easy trade-off to not be on social media for 5 minutes and instead visualize, because social media has given us, there's also given us something, right? It's given us that much pleasure and distraction or whatever. And then the visualization is just absolutely dwarfs what social media gives us. So it's not about not having the time. We all have the time to do it. It's just about making it a priority. And how do you do that without just like grinding and I have to and I commit to it and hold me accountable and call me out if I don't, right? And we do all of that in our academy, where we play games, like we give them a chance to win a free race suit that we deliver to their home and stuff, to gamify it. But at the bottom of it is to set up a system where doing the right thing, which is going to get them to where they want to go, setting that up in a way that it's the only logical, the path of least resistance, not of most resistance, because then you need the grind and discipline. But if it's the path of least resistance, it automatically goes there. Like the water goes around the obstacles and stuff. And that's what we need to do with creating an immediate benefit. Not later, not in 3 months, in 5 months, in 6, 7, 8. Not later, now. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And hey, if you want more on that, if you want me to show you exactly how to visualize, when to do it, how often and stuff, then I recommend come in the school group. It's free. Also, we're going to run a parent challenge very soon in March. My wife and I just waiting for the second baby to arrive. Still nothing. I'll drop the link in the description below and hope to see you there.